Aloha and mahalo Bob. Thank you. Thank you so much. And enjoy your few days away. How fun. Aloha Melinda. Aloha sweetie. Who else is around here? Monica. Hi Monica. Dove, of course. Aloha Dove. And Hazel. Hi Hazel. And looking here, who's in the room here? Give all to all. Love that. Aloha. And hey Lynn. And hi Christian. And there we go. And Tay. Hi Tay. So you have your video on. How cool. Very cool. Wow. So Wednesday today. So I'm going to have a look at a new lesson in the Way of Mastery, which is I'm in love with, I think, every lesson so far in the Way of Mastery. And this is lesson 5 today that I've been sitting with. I've been on this lesson for the last couple of days. And this lesson is the keys to the kingdom. And it's really cool because what I've been finding with the Way of Mastery is that what's been arising in this book that's kind of really got my attention is some of the Abraham Hicks work that I studied before A Course in Miracles a number of years ago. And what I've come to find is that when I picked up A Course in Miracles and I was guided to stop visualizing, to stop sitting each morning, I used to put 20 minutes, half an hour aside, and I would sit and visualize everything that I kind of wanted to manifest in my life back then when I studied Law of Attraction and Abraham Hicks. And I was guided, like very soon after I picked up the workbook lesson in A Course in Miracles, I was guided to let go of that steering wheel and to stop planning and visualizing each morning. I didn't really understand it or get it at the time, but I knew that this was the gentle voice, the voice within that had guided me to the Abraham Hicks work and guided me into my visualization. And now I was being asked by the same gentle voice to let it go and to just to stop that each day. And I was actually guided to hand over the steering wheel. And so I kind of got it in that sense that I was being asked to give up control. And I came to realize over time that as I looked back at that era, I could see that at that time in my life, not era, but era. At that time, it was 10 years that I spent, visualizing and sitting with the law of attraction. And so, with that time, I mean, I can look back and I came to see that it was such a blessing. And then I also came to see that, it was part of my journey, just the way that it unfolded, and that I had. It was a very good tool at the time, but then I was asked to no longer be planning by myself, and so I kind of got that as time went by. I kind of looked back and saw that it was really the ego self. It was Robyn that was planning with her visualizing and deciding what she would be manifesting and what she would have in her world and finances and material possessions, pretty much, for the most part. And then what I've come to see in this lesson 5 in Way of Mastery, and it's kind of become obvious to me in lessons prior to this one, as I've shared about on here, but lesson 5 kind of really clearly tells me why that memory is coming up with the Abraham Hicks and is really clarifying it. So these sections in lesson 5, there's keys, the keys to the kingdom. There's 4 keys that I've been reading about in lesson 5. And the first key is the key for desire. The second key is the key for intention. The third key is the key for allowance. And the fourth key is surrender. And so as I looked at these, I realized, I'm like, that's very interesting, because when I had studied the Abraham Hicks, their 3 main keys were the law of attraction, the law of deliberate creation, deliberate intention, and then the law of allowing. And so here, looking at the second key is intention, the law of and they're actually, Jeshua was asking, and I read a little bit here, it's very interesting because this is where what's become very clear to me today, as I was asked to hand over that control all those years ago. And now today, I can see very clearly, it's asking us again to take a look at desire. Joshua's asking us here to set our intention, and he's actually asking us here to set time aside to cultivate our intention. So when I first read this, it was like, whoa, well, that's what I was kind of doing before, putting time aside every morning. And so I'll read here, but it becomes very clear and pretty obvious, like why this is now part of mastery. And in picking this up again, what this deliberate intention and the law of allowing is pointing at. Okay, so I'm going to read here under the second key. The second key is intention. Actually, just before I read there, I'll just touch the first key of desire. And I've shared on desire, the last lesson was on desire, lesson 4, and coming to find that, actually I'll just read 2 sentences from this. The first key is desire, just to give an overall understanding. I think it's pretty clear, what we're desiring, we're decreeing, we're putting forth, and that, as I've shared here before, desire is from God, and that Joshua told us in a previous lesson that if we weren't desiring, then we're not living. If we're not desiring, then we're not really living. And he shared with us that God in creation desired his Son into life. So we are an extension of God through desire. And in one section, Joshua actually states, desire is creation. And so, we come to find, as I was sitting with this previous lesson, it became very, very clear to me that we are desire. We are the energy. We are the extension of desire, the extension of life. And life is desire. And, in sitting with that, and really contemplating desire and sitting and looking through the eyes of love, looking with Holy Spirit, it's such a beautiful moment. We find that we're really falling into the present moment, the present now, and realizing desire is life, desire is a good thing, extension, desire is a good thing. And so just these couple of sentences here then. This is from the first paragraph of the first key to desire, and then I'll move on to the intention. First, desire is everything. Without it, not a thing can arise. Therefore, what you desire is of utmost importance. Desire then perfect union with God. Desire then to be Christ incarnate. Desire then to be all that your Creator has created you to be, even if you have no idea what that might be. And that to me is key. I have that underlined. Desire then to be all that your Creator has created you to be. And of course that's sitting down with our intention. As I read forward in intention here, you'll see the clarity that I've been receiving there. That is it in a nutshell there, really. Being all that our Creator has created us to be. Realizing that is our desire. That is what is, when we really sit with and we ask ourselves, what do I desire? What am I desiring? What is my desire in this life? And why am I here? What is my purpose? And when we sit with that and we ask what our desire is, then and we come to find that our desire then is to be all that our Creator has created us to be. So the second key being intention. I'm going to read from here, the beginning, the first paragraph, and the second key is intention under lesson 5. Desire in time is cultivated through intention, for you have used time to teach yourself how to be distracted by all of the thoughts and perceptions that make up this cosmic soup called your world. All of you have known the frustration of having a desire, and then as soon as you walk out the door, a friend pulls up and says, let's go to the beach. And you never make it to class, even though your desire is to get the degree You have cultivated the art of being seduced by distraction. Therefore, it is necessary to utilize time to cultivate intention. For without intention, desire cannot become the crystal clear focus, the laser-like focus that can cut through the dross of this world so that a new creation can flow forth through you. Intention is not the same as holding a strong egoic or willed commitment to making something happen. For the way of the heart recognizes that you have not known how to achieve the fulfillment you seek at the level of the soul, for the simple reason that if you did, you would have already accomplished it. Intention does not mean putting your nose to the grindstone and not taking no for an answer. And so, just to stop there a moment, so Jeshua's, asking us, and this is where I kind of stopped this morning and realized that again, here, in a time that I used to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, all those years ago, I used to spend visualizing, obviously I was visualizing from the place of looking through the eyes of separation. I was visualizing how to make my world better, how to make Robyn's world better, and how to strive to achieve, and looking upon only separation. That's all I could see at the time. That's all I knew at the time. And so, coming to see today that once again, Joshua is sharing here in the Wave Mastery, he's sharing with us to put time aside for intention, to place time aside for intention. But this time, to really question what our desire is. What is our intention? Where are we pointing? What are we pointing toward? What is our goal? What is our focus? What is our desire? And so I'm going to read on here these next few paragraphs. Okay. Rather, it means that you cultivate within your thought processes, the art of remembering what you are truly here for. You are here to remember that you are the thought of love in form. You are here to remember that you are one with God. You are here to remember that what I have called Abba, though it goes by many names, is the source of your only reality. You are living in reality only to the degree that one is living through you. Therefore, intention in the way of the heart means to utilize time each day to focus your attention on the desire to be Christ incarnate. Intention is that energy or that use of the mind that creates, through consistent practice, the channel through which desire begins to move down and re-educate the emotional body and even the cellular structure of the physical body and all of the lesser avenues of thinking that occur within the intellect. So everything involved in your being is integrated, working together and focused on the fulfillment of that one grand desire to accept your function in this world. Your function is healing your sense of separation from God. So how do you apply intention? Each day, just as you have used time to teach yourself to be easily distracted, you need only ask yourself one question daily. What is it that I most desire? What am I doing on this planet? What am I committed to? The last two questions are just forms of the fundamental question. As you keep practicing asking that question, the answer will become clearer and clearer. For it is the question that influences, stimulates, and gives birth to the answer. The universe is always answering your questions, and when you ask unclear questions, you get unclear answers. Therefore, become crystal clear with your intention and remind yourself of it daily. My intention is to use time constructively for the relearning of what it means to abide in the kingdom of heaven and to fulfill my function. My function is healing, and healing requires the presence of Christ, for only Christ can express the love that brings healing into being. Desire and intention are critical. These stages unfold in the field of time as one matures in the way of the heart. And so in reading this morning and in sitting with what Joshua is sharing here, and then I'll go on to the key of allowance. That's very cool too, the next section. But just really sitting with this morning, realizing that, of course, we hand everything over. Everything becomes useful for the Holy Spirit. Everything becomes useful for our walk home as we hand it over for its usefulness. And we come to realize that time is very useful. Time can be very useful when it's being given to Holy Spirit, when time is being given to our awakening, to our function in the atonement, when we really sit with time and spend some time turning our attention toward God, turning our attention toward our goal, our focus, which is to remember who we are, our function. When we sit here and take a look and ask ourselves, what is it that I most desire? And Joshua is sharing with us here that that's the one question that we want to be, that's it. That is really the only question that we come to find that we really are interested in. When we've been through the other way, the old way is I used to visualize and sit and tell myself what were the things that I thought I needed in the world to make my world better. And I come to find that, once we go through that, we get to a point where we say, there must be a better way. We come to realize that at some level, we're not really satisfied with everything that we continue to strive for and achieve in the world of separation. We find that there really is nothing that will ever fulfill us, that will ever make us happy. And so when we get to that point, we come to see that it's very, very clear, and this question is really the only question that we ever need to ask ourselves throughout the day, and that all is becomes crystal clear. That when we ask the question, what is it that I most desire? That question, as Joshua shares with us here, enables answers to flow. When we're really clear that in our heart that this is our truth, that this question is true, that what is it that I most desire? That I really feel this coming from my heart. What is it that I most desire? And we can feel, as I was sitting with this morning and in previous lessons, and becoming the witness, as Barbara was sharing before about being the witness. That is so beautiful as we sit back and we become the witness of, in that moment, asking the question, what is it that I most desire? And as we become the witness and we become very sensitive to our position, to the way that we're feeling in that moment, we become very sensitive to that, in a sense that we become very aware, very much the witness in the moment. And we become, as we do, we become aware of the heart center. And it's so beautiful. I mean, this whole section, all these lessons here, the first 12 lessons are called the way of the heart, within the way of mastery. This is the way of the heart. And when we become very alert, we become the witness. We step back and we're watching what is unfolding, and we are turning within. Because of course, as we ask, what is that I most desire? We come to realize that we're really turning within to the core of who we are. We're turning within to my little doggy. Hang on one sec. I think he wants to go out the door. Hang on. Quick. We're turning within and asking, ourselves, what is it that I most desire? And we come to find that, Melinda, That was a little Morky. Morky's heard something outside, wanted to go out. And we become the witness. We realize that our heart centers, the core of our being, is where we are turning to. We are turning within to this core center. And as we become alert, as we become aware, as we become the witness, and we pay attention in a moment, we can really become aware of our heart opening. And we come to see that what's become very clear to me is that as we're turning back within again and again, and we're asking ourselves, what is this that I most desire? What is it that I most desire? And we come to recognize that our hearts, in that moment, our hearts are actually opening. We can become sensitive to the sense that we're watching. We become the witness of how we're feeling within. What is really happening here when I ask this question? You almost feel like the universe responding in that very moment. You almost feel like our truth from within responding in that very moment as our hearts open to meet us where we are. And that we can feel what Joshua was talking about here when he says, we get clear. The question is very, very important. The question is very, very important. Without the question, how can we get very, very clear on the answer and what's coming forth? And that reminds me too, speaking of Abraham Hicks before, it reminds me, I remember Abraham saying a number of times that if Jerry wasn't the big questioner, Jerry and Esther Hicks, Jerry was the big questioner, and Esther was the one that channeled Abraham, and the answer came through her as a vessel, the vessel for communication. So, and Abraham said, if Jerry wasn't the big questioner, he wasn't questioning so much, then all of this could not have been. That he could not have become, that Esther would not be there channeling the message, the answer from Abraham. They would not be coming through, that they were coming through because Jerry became very clear on his questioning. He really knew what he wanted, what he was questioning and what he was looking for. And so I feel like that is really important in this lesson 5 here in the Wave Mastery, is that in asking ourselves, what is it that I most desire? I'm coming to realize that we don't, until we become very, very alert, very aware in that moment, then we're not aware of what's really going on, that there are mountains moving. Just asking that question, what is it that I most desire? We come to find that as we really turn within and we listen to where this question is going, we see it's the core of our heart, and when we witness that our heart is really opening and responding, we can feel a response in that moment with our hearts responding and opening. And we come to see that how important it really is to ask that question, how important it is to set time aside and to sit with the intention of what is it that I most desire. And the next section here, which again is this is the third key is allowance. And then of course that reminded me of the law of allowing from Abraham Hicks. So the third key is allowance. And I've come to find over the years that allowing, such a beautiful word, is if we sit with that feeling, what does it really feel like to allow? Again, if we're really sensitive, we turn within and we're asking ourselves, where is this question? Where the question's arising, what is it to allow? What does it really feel like to allow? As we become really open and alert, very aware of where we're really pointing to, where our focus is going when we're asking this question, we realize that we really are going back within to the core of our heart, to our heart center. When we become very aware in that moment, we realize again our heart is opening, and that's the response. Our heart is responding, and it's our true self responding within. It's we are the light of the world, and we realize as our heart's opening and we become really aware and alert, we become the witness in the moment of the heart. And as we realize we become the witness of an opening, we can actually feel that, that our light in that moment is opening and shining outward, and shining forth and spreading. That the light is, here's the answer right here within the core of my heart. And this is the oneness with God is right here in the corner, in the core of my being, in the core of my heart, and we become very aware of the opening heart, which to me, this whole section, the way of the heart and the way of mastery, to me, so far, even though I'm just at lesson 5, but to me, so far, this is really showing me as I'm becoming very aware of all that Joshua is sharing here, as I'm becoming aware in the moment of really sitting with it, I can really sense, I can feel it, that, and become the witness of the heart opening and realizing that as the heart is opening, light is shining forth and coming to see that it is our one light, it's our one answer that's shining forth. And as we ask the question, what is it that I most desire? Or even if we sit with a question, what is it to allow? What does it feel like to allow? That, the answer that's coming forth is really opening up the pathway that, we may see through the eyes of love, that we may see through the eyes of our heart center. And we come to find that, what over the years, hearing that saying, dropping out of our heads and falling into our heart center, becomes really clear that we're either looking through the eyes of separation in being caught up in our thoughts, and as Barbara also was sharing before, I got so much in those few minutes that I came in. I heard Barbara sharing about the thoughts and just watching, being a witness of the thoughts coming and going, and we become aware that in that moment that as our hearts are open, we become the witness of all of that, all the thoughts that are rising, all that's arising and falling, and realize that to allow is to really be in that place of becoming the witness, of really becoming the witness and allowing everything to be as it is. We come to realize as we let go and allow all to be, we realize that love is behind all of it. Love is behind everything, and everything is so useful when it's handed over to love. Time is so useful, can be so used so well when it's handed over to love and handed over for Christ, for it to be used for the atonement. And all of it, we come to find that there is all usefulness. Everything is very good. We come to find there is no good or bad, but when everything is given to love to be used for the atonement, that we come to see the good that is everywhere, and we can allow everything to be as it is, and we come to realize that that in our allowance, that we are opening. If we become very aware of what it is, what does it feel like to really allow everything to be as it is, then we are in that moment of being, allowing, of letting go, of having it, of listening to those thoughts that are running through the head. But we come to see that our hearts are opening. As we're allowing, our hearts are opening, and our hearts are inviting, and our hearts are being, just really, we're in the moment of just being in that moment, and we're handing it all over, and our light, our powerful source of being, our truth, is able to shine forth, and we come to find that that's when our hearts are open. And as I look back at my journey, I see that once upon a time, I see, a number of years ago, looking back, and I can really realize that what it is to have a closed heart. And now, with the way of the heart, in the way of mastery, it's revealing to me very powerfully what an open heart is, and that how important it is to have an open heart, because that is where our truth is shining forth, and that is where we realize that we really are one heart, that there is not multiple hearts. There really is one heart. And I'll read a little bit here from Allowing, but I just want to share on allowance, going back again to Abraham Hicks. I was such an influence for so many years to me. I studied them for 10 years prior to picking up A Course in Miracles, and I remember them saying about Jerry sorry, not about Jerry, but in as far as allowance goes, I think Jerry may have asked the question, but they told us that true allowance, is like unconditional love, when we are in the place of allowing another to not allow us. So in the moment when someone may be attacking us, maybe they're not for what we're doing or saying or how we're acting, and we find in that moment when we can actually allow another to not allow us and stay in that loving place and be completely allowing of them, and Abraham said that's unconditional love. And so it's not surprising here that in lesson 5, the keys to the kingdom, it's not surprising that the third key is allowance. So before I read some from this key, I'll just repeat the first two keys. The first key is desire. And I'm feeling just to read that one sentence from desire that I read before. Desire then to be all that your Creator has created you to be. The first key is desire. Second key is intention. Setting the time aside and asking ourselves, what is our desire? Really setting up the intention, being intending for the goal of really finding out what is our desire, what am I here for, what am I doing? These other questions which were just supportive of the one question. Jeshua tells us there's just the one question to ask, what is it that I most desire? And the questions that kind of we can also ask ourselves as kind of backup questions, I guess. What am I doing on this planet? What am I committed to? But he does tell us that ultimately the one question, the only question we really need to ask is, what is it that I most desire? And everything comes forth from there when we're truly handing ourselves over for the atonement, when we're truly willing to play our part in the atonement. We come to find that there really is no other question. There really is no other question except, what is it that I most desire? And so they're the first two keys, desire and intention. And the third key is allowance. And that's the title of this little section here. The third key is allowance. And I'll read a few paragraphs from here. The third stage of the process, whereby the mind is wholly corrected and one returns home, is the stage of allowance. For the egoic world does not teach you to allow, it teaches you to strive. You must be the maker and the doer. You must find a way to manipulate or control your environment in order that it conform itself to the image that you are holding in your mind. All of that is well and good, and there are many beings that learn some valuable lessons by following the path of certain teachers that will teach you that you can create whatever you want. That will seem like such a big deal until you realize it is what you are doing all of the time. You are always creating exactly what you decree. It is no big deal, and it is not a secret. But there will be those that will teach you, well, just go into your mind, ask yourself what you want. And when you see that picture of the Mercedes, then you simply do all of these little magical tricks, and pretty soon you end up with a Mercedes. The problem with that, although it can be a useful stage, is that the intellect, the worldly part of your mind, can only desire what it has been programmed to desire. The worldly part of your mind says, well, I have to transport my body around in this plane. Automobiles do that. The world tells me that a Mercedes is a grand way of doing this. Therefore, I will create the desire of wanting a Mercedes. when you manifest the Mercedes, you fool yourself into thinking that you have made great progress when in fact all you have done is done what you have always done. You have chosen what your experience will be and you have manifested it. There is nothing new about that, although by doing so you can begin to regain confidence in your ability to manifest. And I'll just stop there a minute because that becomes very, very clear as I look back at my journey and when I was visualizing, studying Abraham Hicks and visualizing every morning. As I look back and I see how that part of my journey played itself out so perfectly, as I see that, there was a lot of great confidence that came about in learning to manifest, in the ability when I realized that, law of attraction, that I was really able to sit and focus and ask and receive, and that as I set time aside for that, I came to realize, yes, I am a creator. We came to realize that we are creators, that we are able to decree in every moment, and what we are decreeing will be so. And so that definitely played a very important role, I could say, as I look back at my journey. And then coming to see today that in sitting and visualizing, asking what is it that I most desire, rather than visualizing it, I guess it's kind of like, the question, what is it that I most desire? And then getting still, really setting the time aside for our hearts to open, to really be able to turn within and allow. To me, it's been feeling as I've been sitting with that question, what is it that I most desire, that it's become very clear that as I'm sitting with that as the heart is opening, that I've been coming to realize that really that's what it's doing, that in asking that question, that it's enabling our hearts to open wider and wider. It's opening, our minds are opening, our eyes are opening, and we're really giving ourselves over for whatever's coming forth. We realize that we are listening, we're fully listening in that moment. We're very much open to what is coming about, like what is my desire, and we sit and we listen and we wait. And in those moments of questioning that is a great exercise for opening the heart. That's what I've been finding, is that it's like an exercise in opening the heart. And as I look at the journey of awakening, I see that that's, the journey of awakening is our heart, our hearts are opening wider and wider. Our light shines greater as our hearts open. And so we come from a place of having our back on God, having our back on the truth, and that to me, as I look back, is a closed heart. And see that is a closed heart, turning our back on God, turning our back on the truth. We're not really in a place of asking what we desire. We're telling ourselves what we should be doing, what we should be having, how things should be, how we need to strive for this and achieve that, so we look better and sound better and are better, and and so we come to a place when we're truly able to ask, what is it that I most desire, and be really open for what's going to arise. We realize that we really have dropped out of our head center, that we're no longer planning and striving to achieve, but that we're fallen into our heart center, and this is where our hearts can truly open, and that we're waiting and we're willing for what's going to arise in like an excited anticipation of where is Holy Spirit going to lead me next? Where is the light going to lead me next? How can I play my function here? And we come to realize that as our hearts open more and more, that we're playing our function, because our light is able to shine forth. With a closed heart, when we've got our back on God, we're not shining our light. We've turned our back on God, we've turned our back on love, and the light has kind of been blocked, in a sense that we're no longer giving our attention. And when that became clear to me, it was in sharing on Radio Gather here, I don't know, maybe a year ago, when it became very clear to me that that in every moment when I'm turning my back on God, that I am, really, the light is, I'm hiding the truth, I'm blocking the truth within myself, and that the light is really shining when we're looking for the goal of truth, and we're really willing to turn around and face God, that is when we're really willing to shine our light from within, and we come to find that we're not looking for the light out there, we're not looking for God out there, but we're really looking for, just to turn within and to open up and allow our light to shine, and that's really what this awakening path is. This journey of awakening is allowing our light to shine from within, and realizing that this is what it is. It's to truly begin to open, to allow our hearts to open, getting out of our head and dropping into our heart center. And I'm going to read on a little more here, just looking where I was at. Okay. Again, I'm going to read on. I was just checking, that was the Mercedes paragraph where I finished there, manifesting the Mercedes. Okay, so the next paragraph. The way of the heart is about something else. Allowance in this pathway means that you begin to view your life differently. It is not a struggle to get out of high school and create a career by which you can create golden coins, by which you can create the proper house and the proper environment, so that your ego feels successful and therefore of being worth love. And I just want to say quickly there that the word should, earlier on in the early lessons that Jeshua asked us to write down the words should, ought, must, and have to. I know I've shared that a number of times before, but it seems like a very important process in this journey, in these lessons, is to write those words down on a bit of paper and burn them. Joshua asks us to actually write them down on paper and burn those words. And after I did that, I have noticed, become aware that it become clearer on how those words are tied to the world of doing, being the doer, rather than the beer, rather than letting go and being. But really, we're caught up in the doing of the world when we're shoulding. We must do this. We have to go there. We should be doing this, and come to find that, as I look at, and what brought that to mind is looking at this allowance, viewing this pathway differently via allowance, is really being able to burn those words. So it does feel like it was a really important part of this journey, burning those words. We have a study group here on the Way of Mastery, and it's so easy to go through this and go, okay, well, we burn the word in our mind, okay, and as we talked about it in group, that some have burned them and some didn't. But so in our group, we actually, Gio, our spiritual leader there, set up a table for us, and then we actually all got together and burned the words. We wrote down the words and we burned them, and I found on my journey that was that has seemed to be very beneficial so far in going through these lessons, and I have noticed a difference in my awareness when as I feel, as I sit with those words now and hear them, I can really feel that they are part of the doing of the world, and that as we drop them, as we begin to drop them, we're dropping our attachment to the doing and allowing ourselves to be. Allowing is such a beautiful thing. I'm going to read on the next paragraph here. Be honest with yourself. Is not your world built on such premises as these? If only I can make my life look successful around me, then I will be accepted. Then I can love myself at least a little. Maybe I can get other people to love me. That is not it at all. The way of the heart begins with a recognition that you are already loved by the only source that matters, that you have come for a much higher purpose that can be made manifest in the ways of the world, but it's not of the world. Allowance is a cultivation of a way of looking at the events of your life not as obstacles to getting what you want, but as stepping stones. Each one presents you with a blessing of the lessons required to